Let's start with our first news. Sean Strickland's coach has revealed what happened between rounds against Khamzat in their fight, sharing a tense but surprisingly respectful exchange from the corner. He explained that during one of the later rounds, he was speaking directly to Strickland, telling him that he ain't no boogeyman. He repeated that message, insisting there was no fear factor in Khamzat's presence. According to him, Strickland responded in the middle of the fight, saying, "I love you, coach," while also continuing to push through the damage. The coach recalled how Strickland was visibly bloodied, even spitting blood between exchanges, yet still locking eyes with his corner. He admitted he told him, "You're a sicko, bro. I love you, man," highlighting the toughness displayed inside the cage. Despite the intensity, the coach made it clear there was no personal animosity toward Khamzat, explaining that they had known each other since 2021 and maintained a professional respect. He emphasized that while he respects Khamzat as an athlete, his loyalty in that moment was fully with Strickland, and he had to stay focused on his fighter without becoming too friendly with the opponent. After the final bell, emotions shifted quickly, with the coach walking over, giving Khamzat a hug and shaking his hand. He added that he plans to reach out later just to check on him, showing mutual respect after a brutal contest inside the octagon. The exchange highlights how even in the most brutal fights, respect can still exist between competitors and corners, with emotions running high, but professionalism remaining intact from start to finish inside the octagon. No further comments from the coaching camp at present. Move on to another news. Khamzat and Petr Yan have found themselves at the center of rising tension inside the Russian MMA scene, following comments made after UFC 3328. After Khamzat suffered his first career loss to Sean Strickland, emotions were already running high among fans and fighters. However, the situation escalated when Petr Yan, the UFC bantamweight champion, revisited earlier remarks about Khamzat in a recent interview, doubling down on his stance that the result does not represent a major setback for Russian MMA, mainly because Khamzat competes under the UAE flag rather than representing Russia. Those comments quickly sparked attention across the MMA community. Shortly after, Yan's manager confirmed that Khamzat and Petr Yan had a direct confrontation following the interview. According to him, the exchange was face-to-face intense, but did not turn physical at any stage. He emphasized that both sides maintained control, although the tension was clearly visible between them. The manager also added that this will not be the last time the issue comes up, suggesting that both fighters are expected to meet again in the future to clear the air and discuss the situation properly. Meanwhile, Khamzat's team continues to focus on the bigger picture, as they are reportedly pushing hard for an October rematch with Sean Strickland in Abu Dhabi. Their camp believes the loss in their first meeting was heavily influenced by Khamzat's health issues during fight week, particularly his struggles with weight cutting. On the other hand, Strickland also entered the bout dealing with his own physical problems, including a shoulder injury just days before the fight. Both sides now view the rematch as an opportunity to settle unfinished business under different circumstances. The tension between Khamzat and Petr Yan adds another layer of drama to an already intense post-fight landscape inside Russian MMA, where opinions remain divided and emotions continue to run high across the division. Reports suggest both fighters are now under pressure to maintain professionalism as the situation continues to draw attention from fans and media worldwide. Insiders believe any future meeting between Khamzat and Petr Yan will be closely watched, especially given the growing rivalry. Move on to another news. Conor versus Max Holloway at International Fight Week for UFC 329 is now reportedly inches away from becoming official, with strong indications that the matchup is nearly complete. According to Ariel Helwani, the fight is basically on the goal line, and it would take something highly unexpected for it to fall apart before July 11th. He emphasized that while the bout has not been fully signed just yet, all signs point toward it being extremely close to finalization, making it one of the most anticipated announcements in recent UFC scheduling discussions. This development has sparked major attention across the MMA world, as fans have been waiting for confirmation of Conor's return to the octagon after a long period of uncertainty surrounding his fighting future. Helwani noted that the momentum behind the booking is stronger than anything previously reported, suggesting that negotiations have reached their final stages and only minor details may still need to be settled. Despite not being officially announced, insiders believe the fight is effectively locked in, unless an unexpected issue arises at the last moment. The potential clash between Conor and Max Holloway has already generated massive interest due to their history and contrasting fighting styles, with both fighters bringing high-level striking and championship experience into the matchup. If finalized, this would mark one of the biggest international fight week main events in recent memory, adding significant star power to the UFC 329 card. The timing of the announcement also aligns with growing speculation around Conor's long-awaited return, further fueling excitement among fans and analysts. For now, the situation remains unofficial, but all credible reports suggest that the fight is closer than ever to being confirmed, with only formalities remaining before it becomes official in the coming days, leading up to July 11th. Move on to another news. Justin Gaethje has reportedly been dropped in sparring while preparing for his upcoming title fight against Ilia, sparking major discussion across the MMA community. According to a Russian training partner who spoke to Ashatika, Justin was caught by a clean, hard head kick during a training session that sent him to the canvas. The moment immediately created tension inside the gym, especially once it became clear that the incident may have been recorded. The situation escalated quickly as emotions ran high, with Justin reportedly reacting strongly after realizing the footage could leak online. Sources suggest he grabbed his teammate's phone in an attempt to stop the moment from being shared, fearing it could circulate ahead of his highly anticipated fight. The training partner who revealed the story is believed to have broken one of the most well-known unwritten rules in MMA gyms: never expose sparring footage or incidents, especially when a fighter is caught off guard. However, in this case, the source claimed there was no real consequence for speaking out, as he may not continue training with Justin's camp moving forward. That made him feel free to share what happened without holding back. Interestingly, he went through a local Russian media outlet, likely assuming the story would remain regional and not spread across the wider MMA world. Instead, it quickly gained attention internationally, adding fuel to ongoing discussions about the intensity of Justin's training camps. When directly asked about the incident, the source confirmed that Justin was indeed dropped during sparring before things were immediately shut down in the gym. This is not the first time his training footage has raised eyebrows, as previous camp vlogs have shown intense moments, including accidental clashes with teammates and even situations where he was briefly caught in submissions, all highlighting how hard he pushes himself during preparation. Fans have also pointed out that his camps often feature high-risk exchanges that blur the line between controlled sparring and real fight intensity. Despite the controversy, supporters argue that this level of pressure is what prepares him for elite competition at the highest level. As Justin continues his preparation for a massive showdown against Ilia, the incident has only increased curiosity around his training methods and mindset, heading into one of the biggest fights of his career, with analysts debating whether such hard sparring is a strength or a potential risk at this stage of his fight camp. Move on to another news. Nate Diaz has gone off on Ilia following recent comments that reignited tension between the two fighters. The situation started after Ilia appeared on the Ariel Helwani show a few weeks ago, where he dismissed Nate as a punching bag and labeled him a journeyman with limited skills. Those remarks quickly spread across the MMA community and eventually reached Nate himself, who responded in an exclusive interview with Ariel Helwani. Nate made it clear he took serious offense to the comments and fired back with heavy criticism, escalating the rivalry further. During the interview, Nate claimed Ilia is disrespectful and said he would slap him, using strong language throughout his response. He stated that Ilia is years behind and suggested that he does not understand the level of fighters he is speaking about. Nate also referenced Ilia's previous statements about beating Jake Paul in boxing, dismissing them and saying they mean nothing in his eyes. The exchange quickly turned personal as Nate continued to insult Ilia's approach and mindset, repeatedly emphasizing that he would handle him easily in a real fight scenario. According to Nate, Ilia's constant talking proves he is not as experienced as he believes, and he questioned his understanding of real competition at the highest level. In the same interview, Nate also opened up about his UFC future, revealing concerns about fighter contracts and long-term commitments. He explained that UFC contracts are extremely restrictive, saying that once fighters are locked in, it becomes very difficult to leave or negotiate freedom. Because of that, Nate admitted he is hesitant about resigning with the UFC, despite interest in returning. He mentioned that ideally he would like a fight against Charles Oliveira for a belt, but suggested the UFC is more interested in booking him against Conor instead. Nate also stated that he wants meaningful fights against top competition rather than matchups that do not excite him. He explained that while he still wants to compete against the best fighters in the world, the structure of UFC contracts makes him cautious about committing again. Reports suggest that the UFC is considering a major return scenario involving Nate in a one-off event against Conor, potentially setting up a long-awaited trilogy fight. The matchup is seen as the most commercially viable option, given both fighters' history and current status in the sport, and discussions are expected to continue as plans for Nate's return develop. Move on to another news. The UFC has been hit with several last-minute fight changes, but despite the chaos, multiple new matchups have now been confirmed across upcoming cards. Yesterday, it was reported that Nicholas Dolby and Trey Ogden both pulled out of their scheduled bouts due to injuries, leaving their opponents without fights. Now, according to Marcel Dorf, another change has been added to the list, as Romulo Beilado is officially out of his fight against Modest Bukauskas. However, the UFC has quickly responded once again by securing a replacement to keep the bout intact. It is now being reported that Christian Edwards has stepped in and officially joined the UFC roster for this opportunity, and he will face Bukauskas at a catch weight of 215 pounds. This short-notice debut adds another unexpected twist to an already shifting fight card. And the good news continues, as one of the previously affected bouts has also been saved. After Trey Ogden was forced to withdraw earlier, his fight will still go ahead this weekend, thanks to a late replacement being secured. According to Marcel Dorf, once again, Thomas Gant will now step in to face Arur Minev this Saturday. Minev, who many fans may not recognize, has just joined the UFC specifically for this short notice opportunity, making this a sudden debut fight for him on a major platform. Both fighters will now have to adjust quickly as they prepare on limited notice for a high-pressure matchup. The streak of updates did not stop there, as even more positive news followed regarding another canceled bout. The UFC has successfully found a replacement for Jakub Viklats, keeping his scheduled fight alive for the June 6th Vegas card. Earlier reports confirmed that Jakub had to withdraw from his matchup against Marcus McGee due to injury, but now a new opponent has been confirmed. Nolan King reports that John Yanis has stepped up to take the fight against McGee. Yanis was last seen competing in April, where he secured a TKO victory over Jamie Siraj, showing strong form heading into this new assignment. His current UFC record stands at 1 win and 1 loss, and this upcoming fight gives him another chance to build momentum inside the division. Despite multiple injuries shaking up the lineup, the UFC has managed to keep move on to another news. Sean Brady has criticized both Sean Strickland and Khamzat for how quickly they appeared to squash their differences after their recent fight, saying the situation should not have ended the way it did after all the trash talk leading up to the bout. Speaking during a recent appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, Brady expressed strong disagreement with the post-fight behavior, pointing out that both fighters crossed multiple lines during their build-up. He explained that in his view, once certain personal boundaries are crossed, especially involving family, religion, and deeply personal insults, it should not simply be brushed aside after the fight. Brady said that in those situations, the rivalry should carry real consequences and not just end with respect and handshakes immediately afterward. He added that he and his entire team felt the same way, emphasizing that there are limits in fight promotion that should not be ignored. Brady compared extreme rivalries to long-standing grudges, suggesting that once fighters reach that level of personal conflict, there is no simple return to friendliness. He used a pop culture reference to illustrate his point, describing it like characters who constantly fight every time they see each other, implying that some rivalries should never fully cool down. According to Brady, while he understands the business side of selling fights, there are certain lines that should never be crossed in the first place. He went on to say that once those lines are crossed, fighters should be prepared to maintain that same energy permanently, referencing historic rivalries in combat sports where tensions remained long after the fights were over. Brady admitted that seeing Strickland and Khamzat shake hands after the bout left him disappointed, as he expected a more intense continuation of their rivalry given everything that was said beforehand. He also stated that although the fight itself was competitive, it did not fully deliver the level of hostility many fans expected based on the buildup. In closing, Brady made it clear that he is not a fan of excessive trash talk in general, suggesting that the fight would have drawn attention regardless of promotion. He emphasized that if fighters choose to speak in a certain way before a fight, they must be ready to carry that same energy beyond the cage and not simply switch back to respect once the contest is over.